My name is Catherine Morrison, but everyone calls me Kathy. I'm 68 years old, and I need to tell you about the day I walked into a hotel room in Boston and discovered my husband of 41 years had killed me off. Not literally, of course. I was standing right there, very much alive. But to the woman he was with, to all his friends in that city, I had been dead for 3 years. Died of breast cancer, he told them, a long, painful battle that ended peacefully at home. I stood in that doorway looking at my husband's shocked face, and all I could think was, if I'm supposed to be dead, then who the hell have I been married to all this time? Let me tell you how I got there. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear this whole story. Before I tell you about that hotel room, you need to know a little bit about us. Robert and I met in 1976 when he came to Maplewood to design a new community center. He walked into my family's bakery one morning, ordered coffee and a cinnamon roll, and we started talking. He was 25, fresh out of architecture school. I was 24, running Sweet Maple Bakery after my father's retirement. We got married 2 years later in 1978. It was a small ceremony right here in town, reception in the church basement with my homemade wedding cake. We built a good life together. Rob's architecture firm grew steadily. I expanded the bakery. We had 2 children, Emily in 1980 and Lucas in 1984. Emily followed in my footsteps and now runs the bakery with me. Lucas moved to Portland and works in tech, but he visits often with his wife and kids. We have 2 grandchildren, Sophie and Oliver, who are the light of my life. For 41 years, I thought I knew my husband inside and out. Rob was reliable, steady, the kind of man who fixed things when they broke and never forgot our anniversary. We had our routines: Sunday morning pancakes, Friday night dinners at Giuseppe's, summer evenings on the porch with iced tea. Sure, the romance had faded a bit over the decades. That's normal, right? We were in our late 60s. We'd raised kids together, survived financial struggles, buried parents, celebrated grandchildren. We were comfortable. Or so I thought. Looking back now, I can see when things started to change. It was around 2016, 3 years before that September day in 2019 when my world fell apart. But at the time, I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. Let me tell you about those 3 years, because the signs were all there. I just didn't know what I was looking at. It started small, little things that seemed innocent at first. In early 2016, Rob joined something called the New England Architects Association. It's for retired architects, he explained. We meet twice a month in Boston to discuss trends, mentor young architects, that sort of thing. Made sense to me. He'd retired in 2014 after 40 years in the business, and I knew he missed the work. That's wonderful, honey, I told him. It'll be good for you to stay connected. The meetings were always on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He'd leave around noon, drive the 3 hours to Boston, attend the meeting, and come home late that night. Sometimes he'd stay overnight if the meeting ran long. Then came the volunteer work. Rob said the association had partnered with a nonprofit that designed affordable housing. They need consulting architects, he told me. It's volunteer work, but it's meaningful. More trips to Boston, sometimes 2 or 3 days at a time. I was proud of him, honestly. After retirement, a lot of men just sit around and waste away. Rob was staying active, giving back to the community. What kind of wife complains about that? But then I started noticing other things. In summer of 2016, Rob bought new clothes. Not just 1 or 2 items, but a whole new wardrobe. Expensive button-down shirts, tailored pants, a leather jacket that cost more than we usually spent on clothes in a year. The young architects at the association dress well, he explained when I commented. I don't want to look like some old man in dad jeans. He started going to a fancy barbershop in Boston instead of Pete's barbershop here in Maplewood, where he'd gone for 30 years. He began coloring his gray hair. Just touching it up a bit, he said, makes me feel younger. He joined a gym, started watching what he ate, lost 15 pounds. You're looking good, I told him, and I meant it. But something felt off. We'd been married almost 40 years at that point. He'd never cared about his appearance this much before. Then there was the phone. Rob had always been casual about his cell phone. He'd leave it on the kitchen counter, forget it in the car. sometimes not charge it for days. But starting in late 2016, that phone was glued to his hand. He took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. I'd see him smiling at the screen, typing quickly, then putting the phone face down when I walked into the room. "Who are you texting?" I asked once. "Just the guys from the association," he said without looking up. "We have a group chat." Our intimacy changed too. We'd never been particularly passionate, not at our age, but we'd always been affectionate. Holding hands while watching TV. A kiss goodnight. That warmth started disappearing. Rob would come to bed late, after I was already asleep. He'd wake up early and leave before I got up. When I tried to talk to him about it, he'd say he was tired from all the driving or stressed about the volunteer projects. In 2017, the trips to Boston became more frequent. Sometimes he'd be gone 3 or 4 days a week. "Big project coming up," he'd explain. "They really need my expertise." I started finding receipts in his jacket pockets. Nice restaurants I'd never heard of. A jewelry store receipt for $800. When I asked about it, he said it was a gift for our daughter Emily's birthday. But Emily's birthday came and went, and I never saw any expensive jewelry. One time, in early 2018, I was doing laundry and found a hotel key card in his pants pocket. The hotel name was printed on it. The Beacon Hill Inn, Boston. A boutique hotel, the kind where rooms cost $300 a night. "Why did you stay at such an expensive hotel?" I asked him that evening. He barely looked up from his laptop. "The association booked it for a special symposium. We got a group rate." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe every explanation he gave me. In spring of 2018, Rob bought cologne. He'd never worn cologne in his entire life. "The woman at the department store recommended it," he said when I noticed. "Said it was age appropriate." Age appropriate. That phrase stuck with me. Our friends started commenting too. At a dinner party, Sharon Mitchell pulled me aside. "Kathy, Rob looks like a new man. What's his secret?" She said it admiringly, but something in her eyes told me she found it strange too. By summer of 2019, Rob was essentially living 2 lives, though I didn't realize it yet. He'd be in Maplewood for a few days, present but distant, then off to Boston again for his work. And me? I was running the bakery, taking care of our grandchildren when Emily needed help, maintaining our house, being the dutiful wife. I told myself this was just what retirement looked like for some couples. He had his activities. I had mine. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew something was very, very wrong. September 2019. That's when everything came to a head. I had registered for an international pastry conference in Montreal, a 3-day event I'd been looking forward to for months. It was rare for me to leave the bakery for that long, but Emily insisted she could handle it. "Go, Mom. You deserve this." Rob seemed fine with it too. "You should go," he said. "It'll be good for you." The conference was scheduled for Wednesday through Friday. I had my bags packed, my train ticket booked, my hotel reservation confirmed. I was actually excited. Then, Tuesday night, I got an email. The keynote speaker, a famous French pastry chef I'd been dying to learn from, had fallen ill. The main workshop I'd signed up for was canceled. They offered refunds or the option to attend next year's conference. I was disappointed, but there was no point going if the main reason I wanted to attend wasn't happening. I called the hotel and canceled. I canceled my train ticket. All of this around 10 p.m. Tuesday night. Rob had already gone to bed. I decided I wouldn't tell him until morning. Maybe I'd surprise him with a nice breakfast, spend the 3 days doing something together for once. When was the last time we'd had a long weekend, just the 2 of us? Wednesday morning, I woke up around 5 a.m., like I always do. Rob was still sleeping. I went downstairs, made coffee, started thinking about how to surprise him. That's when an idea came to me. A stupid, romantic idea that a 68-year-old woman probably shouldn't have had. What if I didn't tell him the trip was canceled? What if I pretended to leave, then came back later in the day with flowers, a nice bottle of wine, his favorite dinner from Giuseppe's? We could have a romantic evening together, reconnect the way we used to. It seemed sweet at the time, maybe even a little exciting. I feel so foolish now. At 7 a.m., I said goodbye to Rob, kissed him on the cheek. "I'll call you when I get to Montreal," I told him. "Have a great time," he said, barely looking up from his coffee and newspaper. I drove to the bakery instead. Emily was already there, prepping for the morning rush. "Mom, what are you doing here? I thought you were leaving for Montreal." I explained about the canceled conference and my plan to surprise Rob. Emily looked at me strangely. "Mom, are you sure that's a good idea?" "Why wouldn't it be?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't know. It just seems... what if Dad made plans thinking you'd be gone?" "What kind of plans?" I laughed. "He'll probably just watch golf and eat takeout." But Emily's words stuck with me, the way she'd hesitated, the concern in her eyes. I spent the morning at the bakery, helping Emily even though I wasn't supposed to be there. Around noon, I decided to head home early. I'd pick up wine and food, get the house ready for my surprise. I drove home, pulled into our driveway around 1 p.m. Rob's car was gone. That was odd. He hadn't mentioned going anywhere. I went inside. The house was quiet, neat, nothing unusual. I checked the kitchen calendar where we both wrote our schedules. Nothing marked for today. He'd known I'd be gone until Friday. Where would he go? I called his cell phone. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. That's when the unease really started. I tried to push it down, told myself I was being paranoid, but I couldn't shake Emily's words. What if Dad made plans thinking you'd be gone? I sat on the couch, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do. Call again? Wait for him to come home? Drive around town looking for his car? Then I remembered something. 2 weeks earlier, I'd found a slip of paper in Rob's jacket pocket with an address scribbled on it. I'd asked him about it, and he'd said it was for a building supply store in Boston he wanted to check out. But it hadn't looked like a business address. It looked residential. I went to Rob's office, found the jacket, searched the pockets. The paper was still there. 342 Marlborough Street, Boston, apartment 7B. I stood there holding that piece of paper, my heart pounding. I knew what I was about to do was crazy. I knew I might be overreacting. But something inside me, some instinct I'd been ignoring for 3 years, was screaming that I needed to know the truth. I grabbed my purse and my car keys. I was going to Boston. The drive to Boston usually takes 3 hours. I made it in 2.5. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel the entire way. Part of me kept saying, "Turn around, Kathy, you're being ridiculous. There's a perfectly reasonable explanation." But the other part, the part that had been watching my husband transform into a stranger for 3 years, kept my foot on the gas. I tried calling Rob twice more, both times straight to voicemail. I arrived in Boston around 3:30 p.m. Marlborough Street was in Back Bay, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city. Beautiful brownstone buildings lined the street, the kind of place where Rob and I could never afford to live even at the height of his career. I found parking 2 blocks away, fed the meter with shaking hands, and walked to number 342. It was a gorgeous building, probably built in the 1800s, restored to perfection. A doorman stood in the lobby. Through the glass doors, I could see a chandelier, marble floors, fresh flowers on a table. I stood across the street for 10 minutes trying to work up the courage to go inside. What was I even going to say? "Hi, I'm looking for apartment 7B because I found the address in my husband's pocket and I think he might be having an affair." Then I saw him. Rob came walking down Marlborough Street carrying 2 shopping bags. He looked happy, relaxed, younger somehow than he did at home. He was wearing one of those expensive shirts I'd questioned, his hair perfectly styled. He walked right into the building. The doorman greeted him like he knew him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Bennett." Mr. Bennett, not Mr. Morrison. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I waited 5 minutes, then crossed the street and entered the building. The doorman smiled at me. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "Yes," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I'm here to see apartment 7B. And who shall I say is visiting? Just tell them it's Catherine. They'll know." He looked uncertain, but picked up the phone. "Ms. Caldwell?" There's a Catherine here to see you. A pause. She didn't give a last name. Miss Caldwell. So there was a woman. I see, the doorman said into the phone. I'll send her up. He hung up and gestured to the elevator. 7th floor. Turn right. My legs felt like rubber as I stepped into that elevator. The ride up seemed to take forever and no time at all. The doors opened. I turned right. Apartment 7B was at the end of a hallway with plush carpet and art on the walls. I knocked. The door opened and a woman stood there. She was maybe early 60s, elegant in that way wealthy women are. Silver hair cut in a fashionable bob, expensive jewelry, tailored pants and a silk blouse. She looked confused. I'm sorry, she said. I think there's been a mistake. I don't know any Catherine. Is Robert here? I asked. Her face changed. Robert? You mean Rob? Yes, Rob Morrison, my husband. The color drained from her face. You're what? That's when I heard his voice from inside the apartment. Diana? Who is it? Diana. So that was her name. Rob? She called out, her voice shaking. I think you need to come here. He appeared in the hallway behind her, still holding one of the shopping bags. When he saw me, he froze. The bag slipped from his hand and hit the floor. I heard something inside break. Kathy, he whispered. Hello, Robert, I said. Or should I call you Mr. Bennett? Diana looked between us, her hand on her chest. Rob, what is she talking about? Who is this woman? Diana, he started, but she cut him off. You said your wife died. You said Catherine died of cancer 3 years ago. The world tilted. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. I'm sorry, I said slowly, looking at this woman who clearly had no idea what was happening. He said I died? Diana's eyes filled with tears. Of breast cancer. He said he nursed you through 2 years of treatment. That you passed away peacefully at home with him holding your hand. He showed me pictures of your grave. I actually laughed. It was either laugh or scream. My grave? I'm standing right here. Kathy, please, Rob said, finally finding his voice. Let me explain. Oh, I think Diana deserves an explanation more than I do, I said. How long have you two been together? Diana was staring at Rob like she'd never seen him before. 4 years, she whispered. We met in 2015 when he consulted on my penthouse renovation. We started dating a few months later. She looked at me. He told me his wife had just died, that he was a widower trying to start over. Well, I said, my voice cold as ice, I hate to break it to you, but I'm very much alive. Have been this whole time, married to this man for 41 years. We have 2 children and 2 grandchildren, and as of this morning, he kissed me goodbye and told me to have a nice trip to Montreal. Diana's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God! Rob just stood there, silent, caught between his 2 lives. So, I said, looking at my husband, which one of us is real, Rob? Your dead wife in Boston or your living wife in Vermont? Diana stepped back from the door. Both of you need to come inside, now. We walked into her apartment, and it was exactly what I expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River, original crown molding and hardwood floors, expensive furniture that probably cost more than my entire house, art on the walls that looked like it belonged in a museum. This was the life Rob had been living while I baked bread at 4 a.m. Diana poured herself a glass of wine with shaking hands. She didn't offer us any. Start talking, Robert, right now. Rob sat down heavily on her cream-colored sofa. He looked older suddenly. All that careful grooming and expensive clothes couldn't hide the 70-year-old man who'd just been caught in a massive lie. Diana, I can explain, he started. Don't talk to her, I interrupted. Talk to me. How long have you been telling people I'm dead? He couldn't meet my eyes. Since 2015, when Diana and I started getting serious. 4 years, I said. You've been killing me off for 4 years. It wasn't like that, he said weakly. Then what was it like? Diana demanded. Because from where I'm standing, you lied to both of us. You told me your wife died. You told her... What? That you were going to architecture meetings? Yes, I said. The New England Architects Association. Twice a month, sometimes more. Volunteer work for affordable housing projects? All of it lies? He nodded miserably. There is no architecture association, is there? I continued. There is, he said quietly. I do go to some meetings, but most of the time... He gestured around Diana's apartment. Diana set her wine glass down so hard I thought it might break. Let me make sure I understand this. You have a wife in Vermont, a living, breathing wife who you're still married to, and you've been coming here, to my home, to my bed, for 4 years, pretending to be a widower. Diana, what we have is real, Rob tried. Real? She laughed bitterly. Nothing about you is real. Your name isn't even Robert Morrison in my life, is it? The doorman called you Mr. Bennett. Bennett is my middle name, he admitted. I used it here to keep things separate. To keep your double life organized, I corrected. Tell me, Rob, do you have 2 cell phones? Is that why yours is always glued to your hand? He pulled 2 phones from his pockets. This one is for Vermont. This one is for Boston. I felt sick. The level of planning, of deception, it was staggering. The receipts I found, I continued. The expensive restaurants, the jewelry, that was all for her, wasn't it? He nodded. The cologne, the new clothes, the hair dye, the gym membership, all of it was to impress her. Another nod. Diana spoke up, her voice cold. The pictures you showed me of your wife's grave. Where did you get those? Rob's face went even paler. There's a cemetery in Vermont. I found a grave with the right name and dates. I took pictures. Whose grave? I demanded. I don't know, he whispered. Some woman named Catherine Morrison who died in 2016. Different person, but the name matched. I couldn't breathe. He'd used a real woman's grave to fake my death. Some stranger who'd actually died, whose family actually mourned her, and my husband had turned her resting place into a prop for his lie. You're sick, Diana said. Both of you need to leave. Now. Diana, please. Rob stood up. What we have, it's real. I love you. Love? She shouted. You don't know what that word means. You've been lying to me every single day for 4 years. Every time you said you loved me, you were going home to her. She pointed at me. Every holiday, every birthday, where were you really? With me, I answered for him. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Our anniversary every June, our children's birthdays, our grandchildren's birthdays. He was with me. Diana's face crumpled. Last Christmas, you said you were visiting your son in Portland for the holidays. You sent me pictures of snow and pine trees. That was at my daughter Emily's house, I said quietly. In Maplewood. We always celebrate Christmas as a family. And New Year's Eve? Diana asked Rob, tears streaming down her face now. You said you went to Portland again because your son was sick. You called me at midnight from his hospital room. I was in our bedroom, Rob admitted. Kathy was already asleep. I snuck out to the garage to call you. Diana walked to her door and opened it. Get out, both of you. I never want to see either of you again. Diana, Rob pleaded. Get out, she screamed. We left. Rob tried to take my arm in the hallway, and I jerked away from him like he'd burned me. Don't touch me. Don't you ever touch me again. We rode the elevator down in silence. On the street, he finally spoke. Kathy, we need to talk about this. Talk about what, exactly? I asked. About how you've been living a completely separate life for 4 years. About how you told your girlfriend I was dead. About how you used a stranger's grave to prove it. I never meant for this to happen, he said. What did you mean to happen, Rob? Did you think you could just keep both lives going forever? He didn't answer. I want a divorce, I said. I want you out of my house, and I want you to tell Emily and Lucas the truth yourself, every bit of it. I walked to my car and drove away, leaving him standing on that beautiful street in Boston, finally caught between the two worlds he'd tried so desperately to keep apart. I don't remember the drive home from Boston. I must have been on autopilot because the next thing I knew, I was pulling into Emily's driveway instead of my own. I couldn't go home yet, not to that house full of lies. Emily opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. "Mom, what happened? I thought you were surprising Dad." I told her everything, every word. I watched my daughter's face go from confusion to disbelief to rage. "That son of a bitch," she said, and Emily never cursed. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. None of us did." "He's been gone so much," I said, my voice breaking. "All those trips, and I just accepted it. I trusted him completely." We called Lucas together. He drove up from Portland that same night. Arrived around 11 p.m. His wife stayed home with their kids. When I told him, he put his fist through Emily's kitchen wall. "I'll kill him," Lucas said. "I swear to God, Mom, I'll kill him." "No," I said firmly. "You won't, because he's not worth it." Rob came home around midnight. He must have driven straight from Boston after I left him on that street. He walked into Emily's kitchen where the three of us were sitting, and Lucas stood up so fast his chair fell over. "Get out," Lucas said. "I need to talk to your mother," Rob said quietly. "You've done enough talking," Emily said, her voice ice cold. "For 4 years, apparently." "I never wanted to hurt anyone," Rob started. "But you did," I interrupted. "You hurt me. You hurt Diana. And now you're hurting our children, who have to live with the fact that their father is a liar and a cheat." Over the next few days, the whole story came out. Rob admitted everything. The affair had started in late 2015, just a year after he retired. Diana had hired him to consult on her penthouse renovation. She was a widow, wealthy, sophisticated, everything he apparently thought his life was missing. "I felt invisible," he told me during one of our last conversations. "After I retired, I felt like I didn't matter anymore. Diana made me feel important again." "And I didn't?" I asked. He had no answer for that. I filed for divorce in October 2019. In Vermont, you need to be separated for 6 months before it's finalized. Rob moved into a rental apartment in town. The gossip spread through Maplewood like wildfire. Everyone knew, the bakery customers whispered. I'd see people's pitying looks. Emily wanted to ban him from the bakery, from Sunday dinners, from the grandchildren's lives completely. But I told her no. "He's still your father," I said. "He's still Sophie and Oliver's grandfather. What he did to me doesn't erase that." It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, giving my children permission to maintain a relationship with him. But they needed their father, even if he'd failed as a husband. Diana, I learned through mutual friends in Boston, had ended things with Rob immediately. She'd been devastated, humiliated. She'd introduced him to her adult children, her friends, her whole social circle as her partner. Now everyone knew she'd been fooled. Part of me felt sorry for her. She'd been lied to just as much as I had. The divorce was finalized in April 2020. We sold the house, split everything 50-50, just like the law required. Rob moved to Burlington, about an hour away. He got a small apartment there, tried to start over. The kids see him occasionally. Holidays are complicated now. Emily hosts Thanksgiving and Rob comes for an hour in the afternoon after I've left. Lucas alternates Christmases. The grandchildren ask why Grandpa and Grandma aren't together anymore, and we tell them the truth in age-appropriate ways. Sometimes people change. Sometimes they make mistakes that can't be fixed. As for me, I'm still here in Maplewood, still running Sweet Maple Bakery with Emily, still baking bread at 4 a.m., still living in the apartment above the bakery where I grew up. 5 years have passed since that September day when I drove to Boston and discovered my husband had killed me off in his other life. 5 years, and I can finally say, I'm okay. Not the same. I'll never be the same. But okay. I learned some hard lessons through all of this. I learned that you can spend 40 years with someone and still not really know them. I learned that trust, once broken so completely, can never be fully repaired. I learned that some people are capable of compartmentalizing their lives in ways that seem impossible until you see it with your own eyes. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. At 68 years old, when I thought my life was settled, when I thought I knew what the rest of my years would look like, I had to start over. And I did. I wake up every morning in my small apartment. I go downstairs to my bakery. I bake the bread and pastries that this town has loved for 3 generations. I spend time with my children and grandchildren. I have coffee with friends. I take walks. I read books. I live my life. Is it the life I thought I'd be living at 68? No. I thought I'd be growing old with Rob, watching our grandchildren grow up together, maybe traveling a bit now that we were both retired. But this life, the one I rebuilt from the ruins of my marriage, it's mine, truly mine. Not shared with someone who was only half present, not built on lies and deception. And there's freedom in that. If you're listening to this story and you're going through something similar, if you've discovered betrayal after years of trust, I want you to know something. You will survive this. It doesn't feel like it now. Right now, it feels like your whole world has collapsed, because it has. But you will survive. You're stronger than you know. You're more resilient than you think. And on the other side of this pain is a life that's waiting for you, a life where you don't have to wonder if you're being lied to, where you don't have to question every word. I'm 68 years old. I run a bakery. I have 2 wonderful children and 2 beautiful grandchildren, and I'm learning slowly how to trust myself again. That's all any of us can do, really. Take it one day at a time, one breath at a time, one small step forward at a time. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like, subscribe to hear more stories, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? This 68-year-old baker would love to know.